that time. One more time, just one more. That's what I thought. Students are here today to raise their voices, and that's what we're doing. One more time. Dear Congress, I am a student. I go to school, I do my homework, and I study. I take my tests and write my papers because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Recently, though, my time has been consumed by other things. Researching gun control laws, for example. Investigating policies implemented in Massachusetts, the state with the lowest number of gun deaths per year in America.
Demanding that my representatives take progressive action on gun policy and organizing sit-ins at my high school to call attention to the astounding change that our government has failed to implement.
Call me an overachiever. I wouldn't deny it. Congress, what are you doing? Because it seems to me you aren't doing much. You have repeatedly failed to implement policies and regulations on deadly assault weapons, despite clear evidence that such legislation could have saved the lives of dozens, if not hundreds, of victims of mass shootings in America. You have pushed aside a productive conversation with superficial thoughts and prayers, and you continue to disregard the epidemic of gun violence with horrifying indifference.
At school, we call that flunking. Look, I get it. Figuring out how to eradicate gun violence from a highly militarized and monopolized country is tough. But so is BC calculus, and I've got friends doing both! The truth is, Congress, you're not doing so well in my grade book these days.
Your work is unoriginal at best and inaccurate at worst. And your arrogant ignorance of scientific study provokes questions and concerns from your peers.
In fact, your impertinence and incompetence roused enough suspicion that we started to search around for some answers. We researched and we studied and investigated just like we learned to in school. Politicians in Congress are accepting money from the National Rifle Association. And consequently, they are contributing to the mass murder of youth and students. The NRA fills the pockets of our representatives and legislators who conveniently offer thoughts and prayers as a response to some of the nation's most catastrophic gun violence tragedies.
Each day without action, Congress remains complicit in a system that annihilates children and teenagers, and specifically children and teenagers of color. As youth are murdered in their streets and in their schools, the NRA funds campaigns, political parties, and elections. Your time is over.
We've looked to you for answers.
There were none. We've looked to you to represent us.
You haven't. We've looked to you to care about whether we live or die.
You don't. The NRA is doing work for politicians.
At school, we call that plagiarism. We are students. We go to school, we do our homework, we study. And now we're speaking out and protesting and organizing. We, the students, are enacting change with speed, strength, and passion throughout our communities and our country.
We are marching and lobbying and writing to our representatives. We are proving the power of our voice with each word. We are not apathetic. We are not unreasonable.
We are students, the creators of incredible and monumental change.
We, the students, are marching to end gun violence in our streets and in our schools. So you ask us, why are we marching?
Good question. We're marching for the streets in Mattapan, and we're marching for the suburbs in Marlborough. We're marching for the schools in Dorchester and the classrooms in Concord.
We're marching for Massachusetts, where 226 people died in gun-related incidents in 2014. We're marching for Boston, where gun violence affects individuals in neighborhoods daily. In Boston, communities of color have been advocating for gun reform for years and have been silenced and demonized. Gun violence in communities of color is inherently different and explicitly more common than gun violence in white communities. Black lives are American lives.
Black lives have never received the national attention that white lives do. People have never marched to the Boston Common in thousands to protest gun violence against black lives in Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan.
Gun violence isn't just mass shootings.
Gun violence is black and brown children torn by gunshots. Gun violence is the average of 96 bodies broken each day by bullets. Gun violence is 242 people in Massachusetts in 2016, their last sight, the barrel of a gun. We matter!
Gun violence is Jamal Bannister slaughtered in Back Bay on January 14th, 2018.
Chad O'Connor shot to death in Codman Square.
A black boy rises from the earth and already is 13 times more likely to die by the hand of a gun. Because he is darker. A black girl rises from the earth and already is 3 times more likely to die by the hand of a gun. Because she is darker.
We matter.
Because if it were 17 black students on February 14th, most people wouldn't be here today. Simply because they are darker. America is apathetic to the loss of black life because they are darker. In Boston, we are amplifying the voices of communities of color to emphasize those who are most affected by gun violence in their daily lives. We lift the perspectives of communities of color that have been asking for gun reform for decades.
We support the students who have been ignored and pushed aside. We fight for legislation and for a culture that protects children, not guns.
We're marching because Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
We're marching for students, parents, and teachers. We are marching because
enough is enough. Enough is enough.
enough is enough.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. This is not a moment. It's a movement.
We won't stop until we feel safe in our classrooms
And in our communities.
We will join hand in hand, and you will see the full force of the youth of this nation.
We will raise our voices together and demand action. We will continue to march.
We will march for each other.
We will march for ourselves. Today